rowing.
What?
Yeah, the cornhole. Cornhole has been around, but yeah, pillow fighting is on there. Tag. They have tag competitions where they're running all over.
Okay, but those, I feel like that could be an obstacle course that would be tough.
That actually seems fairly physical. But, I mean, cornhole.
We can start. Yeah.
I'm not going to get in trouble talking bad on cornhole, though. I'm sure I'm going to piss somebody off. Like, my dad died playing cornhole, you know. He was in Vietnam and playing cornhole or some stuff like that.
Or someone's going to reach out to you and be like, hey, I'd love for you to train my guys, you know?
I got a voicemail just last week at the office, and this happens. She wanted to know about training her pit bull.
In what?
So
racing?
No. So prior to us owning this domain name, it was a pit bull training company. So somehow she equated it was still that.
Oh.
So I haven't responded back. I'm going to call her and say, look, we don't do that. But she thought that we were still a dog training company, you know. So.
Well, I'm glad you could clear that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably a sport, right?
You could have the first dog run the Indy 500. Nothing is impossible.
There's enough going on right now. I don't think I want to deal with that.
I don't know if Penske would appreciate.
No, I don't think Roger would be a big fan of that at all.
Roger, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rufus, let me know when I can start or when we're live. Oh, I think he's checking audio. Hi guys. Before we get too into it, did anyone go to the Indy 500? Did anyone actually go to the race? Did anyone go? No? Okay, watch on TV though? Yeah. Okay, so we all are in agreement then. The Indy 500 is better on TV. I feel like this is universal.
I agree. I would agree on that.
You have to go once. Okay,
yeah.
Fair. That's true. Oh yeah, that's true.
Right.
I feel like that's true. I hate to say it, we offered. We're NASCAR people, so we were like, I know. Yeah.
You missed the flyovers when you're on TV.
You know what, and those are cool.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, you were saying that you were in downtown and you got to see the flyovers. So yeah.
They had two of them. They had the one down the front straight, and then everybody was just kind of relaxing in between. And they came from the east and flew over. Everybody jumped because they were way lower than they were going down the. Oh yeah, they were super low. Ooh. So we were in one of the hospitalities on the ground floor, and everybody just jumped it was good.
Especially unexpected. I feel like that would
unexpected,
scare
me. Yeah. It's such a loud boom. Loud when they go by.
Oh my God. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed their nice weekend, their long weekend, even though you were at the track. We watched online, and actually, I was just telling you that I also watched the Coca-Cola 600, the NASCAR race that follows. Because, like I said, I'm NASCAR people. We're NASCAR people. We're from Florida. Grew up on the Daytona 500. We're all in that. Is anybody an IndyCar or an F1 fan? Generally, any motorsport racing fans. You watch regularly through the season. Oh yeah. Okay, so you watch races other than the Indy 500, I guess would be. Yeah. I was just curious because I know everybody. I mean, I've been in Indiana now 10 years, and I feel like I get the Indy 500, but I don't have a good gauge of how many people are actually year-round motorsports fans.
It's pretty. I think Indiana's pretty well versed in racing.
Yeah,
because they're not just a stock car and a Indy car. There's the sprint cars, and there's the NHRA out at Lucas Oil is a huge event. So I mean, the whole state is very motorsports driven.
Yeah, well, it seems like Indiana's just an athletic state. Really sports-centered state in general, right?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, the Colts took a while to get good. I mean, no offense to my Colts fans. And the Pacers, too. It's all coming up. And the Fever. Listen, it's all coming up. Indiana is becoming the state. Well, and IU football.
Oh,
College
yeah.
football's getting good in the state of Indiana.
I say they're pretty good.
Yeah. As
I mean, you just
as a
kinda
Miami
hard-
fan, it hurts. A little
Yeah,
bit. We're not going
well.
to talk about that. Well, so anyway, thank you guys so much for coming out. To our May edition of Book News, and thank you to everyone who is with us live. And thank you to Strangebird for hosting us. This is our last book of the season, close out our spring before we go on like a summer vacation, which I hope you guys get to go somewhere fun this summer. And I hope the weather starts to cooperate so we can actually like sit outside and enjoy the flowers and the trees and the greenery now that winter is officially over. But I am excited to I've already been talking to our guests, so y'all, you're gonna have to just deal. I get on tangents, and I fear that this might be a tangent kind of day, so you might have to rein me in. But nobody knows you quite like you know yourself, so please introduce yourself for us.
My name is Jim Leo. I'm the owner and founder of a company called Pit Fit Training. We do the physical and mental and nutrition and rehab in motorsports. We have for almost 30 years now, since the mid 90s. We have an office our primary office is in Indianapolis, and then we have a satellite facility down in Charlotte. And and I've been doing this for quite a few years. I'm glad to be here. I didn't even know this place existed.
Yeah.
I don't get to this part of town very often, so driving over, I was not sure where to go. And
Well, there's a lot of road closures.
Yeah, we put a social media post up, and one of my staff made a really nice graphic, apparently with the wrong address, because one of our fans responded back and said, "It's one of my old stomping grounds, wrong address. We had to change it." So thank heavens that people come here, apparently.
Yeah, no. Well, and I mean, Strangebird's relatively newish.
Oh,
I guess
okay.
we've been here for a while. It feels like we've been here for a while now, but it's
Yeah. I'm excited to bring my wife down here. This is great. We don't have to come to this part of town, so I'll have to come by and have some dinner.
Oh yeah, dinner and drinks over on the other side. Ooh, so good. Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So can you talk to us about motors? Like, how did you get into, were you always in motorsports training? Were you in like different sports? Tell us a little bit about your career journey, I guess, and kind of how you got here.
No, I wasn't into motorsports at all. My grandfather, had me watching the Indy 500 on TV. Well, actually listening to it at times and then watching it that night, but I wasn't that interested, and took me to a race or two, IndyCar race. But I started working in the early 90s. I was started working for Roger Penske at a diesel engine plant called Detroit Diesel Corporation, which he owned in Detroit, Michigan. I went to school at Eastern Michigan, got my undergrad, and was about halfway through my master's degree, and then I was talked out of completing it by some higher ends in the field, because what I was doing was unique, and they said you can always get your master's degree, but this may pass you up. So I never got it.
Oh wow.
Of course, I've master's degrees work for me, or PhD. So I guess
that worked out.
But so I was located at Detroit Diesel Corporation that had 7 full-time physiologists on staff, a huge plant. And my grandfather, the big racing fan, sent me a clip out of an old a racing newspaper called National Speed Sport News, which was kind of the rag of racing. And they had an article in there about Roger Penske's NASCAR team with Rusty Wallace. They were the fastest pit crew at the time, and they were doing step aerobics to get in shape.
Oh.
And so he sent me that, and I just had an idea, didn't know what the idea was, but I proposed to Roger. I sent an interoffice letter, and I tell this, you'll all understand this, but I tell this story to younger crowds, and I said, look, believe it or not, there was a day when the internet really wasn't a big thing. We used to write notes to people, interoffice memos. So I sent him this saying that, hey, I'd like to work with your IndyCar team. And he sent back on his little letterhead, go for it. And then that led me to getting a call from Team Penske in Reading, Pennsylvania. I flew there and designed a gym and a training program for their IndyCar team in the end of '93. Nothing with the drivers at that point.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I learned from some really amazing people that I just had dinner with one of my best friends from the team Thursday night downtown. We're still good. He's just great people. And I kind of learned what I could about the performance side, at least of pit stops and pit crews and what was going on. And there just wasn't really anything out there. Like
Oh, wow.
the internet just wasn't, you couldn't find anything. So I learned a lot. I would go there probably once a month for the off season. And then in '94, the team had one of those Cinderella years where they won, I think, 12 of the 16 races, very dominant. They won the D500, everything. And so I didn't know, I just thought this was an adjunct to my current job. I wasn't getting paid any more money. As a matter of fact, my boss in our facility was not real keen on me leaving so often. So I ended up using all my vacation days to go do this. But I knew that there was something there. I was young and very entrepreneurial, I guess, in a sense, but just knew that I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And the team did really, really well, obviously, and I was starting to get some interest. And I did that for a few more years. And then I was recruited by a team here in Indianapolis, and then it was called the CART Series, which was prior to IndyCar, to come there and be their full-time physio trainer for the '98 season. So I left my job, moved here with family, and that's how it all started.
Wow.
And then it just, from there, I knew, even at that point, I knew that, because what I was doing was so unique. None of the drivers were working out. The reason I didn't work out with never worked out with the Penske drivers is the drivers when I was there, with Paul Tracy, Al Unser Jr., and Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson had his own guy. Paul wasn't interested. And then Al, if you read Al Unser Jr.'s book, working out was not a priority for him. A lot of other things. Great guy. I have great Al Unser Jr. stories. He tried. He offered one time I was supposed to fly to his place in Albuquerque, and he called me up the week before and said, change of plans. Is snowmobiling working out? I kind of was like, we could probably do something. And he said, well, next weekend I'm going to fly here and we're going to go snowmobiling with Motley Crue. And it never happened, but that was Al. Yeah. Lots of good stories like that. So, but when I went to PacWest Racing, I knew in the back of my head, I said, look, I know that a race car team needs a team owner. Obviously, you need race car drivers, you need a pit crew, you need an engineer, you need all these pieces. You don't really need me. Like, this was very bold of them to do this.
Yeah.
So I knew that at the end of the day, if push comes to shove and budgets get cut, I could be the first guy let go. I had a 2-year contract, so I knew that I had 2 years to figure this out. So during that time, things went really well. I made a really good program, but I started making contacts within the paddock with other teams and drivers, and I couldn't do anything, but I put the word out. And then at the end of the contract, we re-signed it for less money, but then it allowed me to do other things. And literally 5 months later, the team completely in mid-season folded up. Yeah. And then from there, it was just a growing period of learning about it and expanding and working with different drivers, and it's kind of where it's gone ever since.
So who are you training? Are you training the drivers? Are you training the pit crews? Both? Whoever's looking?
Whoever.
I guess what's important.
Whoever pays us.
Well, I mean, that's real.
That's the. I mean, seriously, that is the priority. The pit crew thing really has changed. If you notice in NASCAR, they years ago started adopting this philosophy of the physical side of it was very important. And they started hiring strength coaches for their programs.
Strength coaches.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then they started. Now you see it. Now all the guys that change tires. I mean, at least the top teams, they're former college athletes. They're making. This was 10 years ago, they were making six figures to show up for. I mean, they would train all week long. They just go to the race and just change tires. So
Yeah.
it was a good career. And now you see more of it. You see, Hendrick Motorsports. I know the guys that run that program. They have now a huge Atrium Health facility that it's as big as the downtown Y, just for the performance of the pit crew.
Wow.
It's that important. Now you're starting to see IndyCar
know
teams
that.
do more of that. They're starting to hire strength coaches, their own guys, and keep it in the house. So it's moving that direction.
Wow.
So we don't do as much pit crew work anymore because they
Mhm.
usually have their own person doing that.
Interesting.
The drivers are a different story. The drivers are independent contractors, so they,
I
for the
did
most
not
part,
know.
they pay their own way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
teams are already paying them a good chunk of money. Which I have to concur that if you don't show up for your job, that we're already paying you good money, physically prepared for this sport, yeah,
that's tough.
yeah. So that's our clientele is for the most part drivers.
Interesting. So what are you training for necessary? Is it like raw strength? Is it endurance? Is it only upper body? Is it lower? Is it kind of like a full body training program? Like, I'm curious what a training program would look like for a driver.
Sure. It's different depending on the series because the series are different.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because some series have power steering like NASCAR,
Yeah.
and but they're incredibly hot, and the cars drive differently. IndyCar has massive grip, so the G loads on the body are much higher, and they're physically have to be strong to drive. There's no power steering.
I didn't know that.
Formula One has power steering, but there's no neck support, and the G loads and the grip are off the charts. So you have to have massively strong necks in Formula One, very strong core, and pretty good cardiovascular system.
Oh, so you're running cardio.
Yeah.
You're across the board, you got to have.
Well, for sure, because
cardio
if you look at the research that's out there, a driver's heart rate will range 140 to 175 in the car.
whole race.
Yeah. And so
wow.
that's there's research showing some of that is metabolic, some of that is you would call kind of adrenaline, and just the stress that you would go through, like a soldier in a battle situation. Just that. But the bottom line is that it elevates the heart rate, and your body doesn't really know what exactly is the cause of it. I mean, it does. It just knows that an elevated heart rate is going to create stress on the body, which requires energy. So therefore, I must be putting fuel to these areas of the body and the heart to keep it going. So that's at the end of the day. And then there's also the situation with heat. Heat can be a huge factor in racing.
But then
Massive.
how do you train for? Is that just being cardio, like having a good, I don't know, aerobic capacity?
Absolutely. Your cardiovascular system will help you
deal with the heat
far better. There's tons of research proving that. The other side of that is heat training. So we'll do heat training with drivers. We'll have them. We don't have them train in the saunas. We have infrared saunas they'll get in. The research has shown that if you utilize a sauna at I'm thinking in Fahrenheit, like 170 in a wet sauna for 30 minutes, 3 days a week, in the span of, it was 3 weeks with cyclists that improved their blood volume by 10%, which
10%.
which is massive.
Yeah.
So, but what they did is they would always go into the sauna with an elevated core temperature, and then they would sit in the sauna. They wouldn't train in the heat.
Oh, so like training and then going in.
Right. So, and the reason behind that is because it's kind of like if you're a runner and you are running wearing a weight vest, biomechanically it's completely different than what you would do in your competition, right?
Yeah.
What is the benefit of that? It's more stress on the body. Same thing with heat. If you're training in the heat at a certain level, you can't quite work at the intensity that you would when it's not as hot. I mean, don't get me wrong, we don't have any air conditioning in our facility. So, I mean, it's hot, but we don't put them in a hot environment that often. And so
Interesting.
that helps them acclimate to the heat. And then, the size of your body, the larger body mass you have, the more thermal effect that has. So the drivers want to be lean, but still strong. I mean, it's kind of like I always say, we train our drivers. If you're looking at this from an NFL standpoint, we want to have strong wide receivers or tight ends.
Yeah.
We don't want to have linemen. We don't want to have
Yeah.
the safeties and cornerbacks that are super tiny. Like, you want to have some muscle, but you're also lean, like a Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
Which everybody here knows who Jerry Rice is. Sometimes I've said that, and they're like, "Who's Jerry Rice?" It's like, yeah. So there's and then not only do you have the cardiovascular stress on the body, there's a strength demand at times.
That's surprising to me a little bit.
Well, if you think about turning a steering wheel, and obviously this is the style of car with the style of steering, the track you're on. Some cars are very precise. Some cars you're constantly correcting.
Oof.
So when you look at that, you look at, in order to, from the basic level, in order to produce the amount of we'll call power to quickly move a wheel, you need strength. Right.
Okay.
So power, strength, and speed. So you have to have the speed. So you train the ability to turn quick, but then also the strength to move the element, whatever that might be, the steering wheel in this case, quickly. So it doesn't make sense, I think, to a lot of people until you dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
You look for whatever enhancement we can work on. So there's strength, then there's specific strength. Yes, upper body is obviously much used much more in racing. The neck, the forearms, the core takes an immense amount of load from cornering. So the core, the organs want to move, and your core kind of helps stabilize things.
Yeah.
Wow. The legs don't do as much, except when it comes to braking.
Braking is like physically difficult. Well, I guess if the car's going that
depending
fast.
on the car, but you think about doing a single leg press with 200 pounds.
200 pounds.
80 times.
What?
150 times on a street course.
That's still a lot.
Like pressing, and then not just pressing, but modulating. It's not just one all or nothing. You're modulating to the corner. It's finesse, lifting off quickly.
Yeah.
Then you have reactions. So you have how fast can you react to something, and that's lower and upper body. So you train those areas. You have a cognitive load, processing massive amounts of data under stress. So so essentially what happens is you're in the car, you have a visual environmental situation, and you have this visual input of information. The information that gets processed goes to basically the prefrontal cortex, makes a decision. The brain has to make a decision, then it fires neurons, the neural pathways, to the part of the body that has to turn the wheel or hit the brake or something. All of this happens in a split second while you have competitors all around you. You have walls.
The walls.
You're going 200 miles an hour. You have audio stimulation from spotters.
Your spotter, yeah.
Or the timing stand. And then you have things on your car to keep track of. It's until you get behind the wheel of one of those cars and watch. I mean, you see it on TV. It's amazing what they do.
Yeah.
Just for one lap.
And they're doing it for hours.
Yeah, and then
it's 200 laps, 500 laps.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing that's different about auto racing, which is what fascinates me, is that in conventional stick and ball sports, if you're fatigued,
stick and ball, I like that.
You can, if you miss a shot, Steph Curry misses a shot. Well, okay, whoops, go back down, play defense, come back. Or if you're on a tennis game, you play a really hot set at Roland Garros in France, and in between sets, you get a water break, take a drink, recollect, do it again. But there's no fear of you dying from these sports. There's no fear of injury. Maybe you'll catch a baseball to the head or something, but I mean, how often does that happen?
Yeah.
I mean,
and
hockey.
There's a CTE conversation, which is
well, sure, but
separate.
it's one of these things where, yeah, for sure. And in football, there's obviously contact all the times, but it's rarely life-threatening.
Yeah, that contact is not.
Right. I mean, long term, obviously, there's some some evidence showing that repetitive contact is going to cause problems for you down the road.
Oh yeah.
But in racing, like when you crash, the risk is immensely high that you could die
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah. So you can't make a mistake.
Well, you just have to go into it with that knowledge of this is dangerous.
Yeah.
People die.
Wow.
And I think that's what's unique. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. If you look at what happened back in the 60s in Formula One, if you watch, oh my gosh, they lose 3 or 4 drivers a season.
What?
Oh, it was. You go back and look at some of read the books of some of these drivers. Jim Clark died in a car. I mean, these guys would die.
I did not know that.
Oh, it was horrible. Very unsafe. I mean, if you look at those cars, if you watch them drive those cars on the speedway, the vintage cars, their head's about this far out of the car. It's just tubes. There's they just started putting seatbelts in race cars. Like
oh my
in the
God.
50s.
I didn't even think about the seatbelts.
The thing was that we want to get thrown from the car. That's what they don't want to be in the car because the fear was fire. Fire is the worst thing that can happen.
So you'd rather get flung out.
Yeah, well, we know how that works out.
Yeah.
So
seems not great.
So that's the thing. Like it's gotten safer, and it's rare that we lose drivers now. It's extremely rare. It usually takes some, catastrophic situation to occur with Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt's death saved thousands of drivers since then from the Hans device. So and so there's that factor that goes into it as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the fear of some drivers, they have sponsors or they kind of buy their way into the sport. If they're not in the car, then they put somebody else in the car being replaced. Yeah. So anyway, that's probably the longer version that you wanted to hear, but those are all the things that goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. Obviously I'm not a race car driver. So this is all stuff
Neither am I.
You had a question. You had your hand up. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was getting there.
Oh yeah. There's a book we're talking about. Yeah, that's a great question. And when I was reread the book, which I hadn't read since my kids gave it to me in 2013, it made me start thinking about genetics. And now I've got this fascination with looking at doing my own personal research study with drivers and their kids who have raced and the rate of success compared to the two. Yeah. I have my own theories on that. Too many entitled young drivers, but anyway. But yeah, you can, and as you read in the book, you'll see that there are, it's that big nature versus nurture thing, and there's some things that when you look, I think it's I can't think of it. What is the study? There was a study they did. There's a name for it. They reference in the book, but they basically determined that literally with the right genetic makeup, 50% of those kids will have a strong disposition to potential to achieve what their parents have done, which is massive. So that just makes you want, okay, so why isn't that every single kid doesn't become as successful as their parents? Well, another topic, but from a reaction standpoint, the thing that you have to realize is that these people are born with these genetic gifts. But there are plenty of individuals born with genetic gifts that don't achieve the levels that they're capable of. And the reasoning, which they do state in the book, is that you've got to have the perfect storm. You've got to have the genetic disposition to do this. You've got to have the opportunity, the training. All these things have to go together. And this, makes you, you question it now, but why Chinese bred people together? Yao Ming's, if you know who Yao Ming was, his parents were put together because they were both exceptionally tall and athletic. He was, in a sense, manufactured, but Yao Ming. There are probably a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot, but there are plenty of 6'10" individuals who have zero ability to play basketball. So they had to then put him in a program that would take advantage of these physical attributes that he inherited from his parents. You can train reactions, absolutely. We do it all the time. We have a ton of fairly expensive equipment that trains neurocognitive and reaction training, and we can quantify that. So yes, you can. So there's two kinds of reactions. There is the visual reaction and the motor reaction. The visual reaction is basically how fast you interpret the data, how fast you see it, right? So you have to have good vision. There's another attribute. Process the data. Now the next thing is, as we talked about earlier, now what do I do? Okay, but if I'm slow to move, then I'm just, there's a disconnect there. The other side of that is experience, which is a massive component. And if you have the ability to react to something faster, but you react the wrong way, you just get in trouble faster. We say that with young drivers. They don't have the skill set in the background to know what to do, but they see it and they react quicker. They just make mistakes. So that's a learning thing. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just not enough time to react to that pitch to get if you want the ball. You see where it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
The seam, they mentioned
Yeah.
the seams on the ball, like and so we've tried a lot of drills like that. Near far shift is kind of a drill that we have with equipment, but they'll use devices called a Brock string. So Brock string it's just something that vision doctors have, and it's basically a string with different colored balls on it. They get smaller, and you have to basically look at the ball, the big ball to the small ball. It's very basic stuff, but and there's other equipment out there that does that. But like with a baseball player, we'll look at what they do, and we've done the same thing, putting numbers on balls and throwing them and having them be able to visually see that and respond to us and tell us the number that's on a ball that's turning. We tried it with ping pong balls. Nope, doesn't work. Too small. We'll use different colored ping pong balls. We have a robotic ping pong machine that will do the same thing, but it's not as effective. But yeah, you can train these areas with repetitive work. The research has shown that, and you're basically training the neural pathways to be more efficient. The key again is to train their visual reaction time and then their motor reaction time. Do them both, which gets a little more complicated because being able to swing a baseball bat faster, does it directly correlate with driving a race car? Well, no. So it's tougher to do those things, but we still use some of the same drills like they use in baseball.
I like the
Good
quote from the
question.
book. You need the hardware to if you have better hardware, it's easier to download the software.
For sure.
I felt like that resonated with me really
Yeah.
hard in the book. Well, and I think that brings us to our first turn and talk, which I actually think I'm just going to do this as like an open turn and talk instead of just like individually talking. But the book talks about the 10,000 hour rule, and also talks a lot about children's sports and children training in sports. And so I was curious from your all's perspective, because I've heard of the 10,000 hour rule. And if you've never heard of this, it's about, you need 10,000 hours of practice to be an expert, with a big fat asterisk on that it depends
Yeah,
on your hardware
very
and how
much.
you're downloading the software. I thought it was interesting. They gave the example of like the chess players. Not something, when I opened this book about sports, didn't think I was going to read about chess.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like reading through kind of, especially the 10,000 hour rule and, getting children involved in sports and training in sports. Do you think then it's necessary, if you want to be great at a sport, you need to start accruing those hours younger and younger to be elite at, a younger age? Because some of these sports, like, you age out. So then do you have to start training like an Olympian at 12, 10? If you're a little league baseball player and you're 10 years old, do you need to be in training programs? to be elite, to be like this super athlete. I don't know if any of you maybe read those chapters and had like thoughts about it. I'd love to hear it, and you know, you can comment, you know,
Yeah,
on some
absolutely.
of our thoughts, and you probably have thoughts too.
Sure.
Interesting. Some people did better.
No, and
No,
it's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, playing multiple sports. Oh,
There was one guy on the team, and actually ended up playing football.
oh,
They did not want him to play basketball because they were afraid he was going to get hurt.
oh,
Track.
yeah. So playing multiple sports, specializing early, maybe like specializing in a sport as a child, yeah, versus just playing whatever is fun. Yeah.
Well, you look at Urban Meyer, who was the coach for Florida and Ohio State, very successful. I read his book, and he is very adamant that they look for athletes from multiple sports who play multiple sports. And I, you know, you can look at it from two sides. I mean, Tiger Woods' situation was the best and the worst thing that ever happened. Right? Here's a guy that from, well, I'll give you two examples. Okay, you know who Todd Maranovich is?
Got a couple nods.
Okay. So you have Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods was,
Yes.
you know, from a sperm on was made to play golf, and his father was adamant about it and pressured him and would do all the yell at him when he's about to hit the drive and all this. But Tiger will say he loved it. He was the one who wanted to do it. His dad never pushed him, but when he wanted to do it, he made sure he practiced and did it right. And then you had this guy named Todd Maranovich. Todd Maranovich was this wonderkin in Southern California quarterback. His dad, Marv Maranovich, who I actually follow some of his training to this day. He had some, there was some good in what he did, not as a father.
Okay.
But Todd was famously groomed to be a quarterback. His dad would rub milk on his thighs as a baby. Why? I don't know. He was restricted diet, wasn't allowed to have Coke, would bring his own food to birthday parties, was a quarterback prodigy, and he was fantastic. Very, very strict. Well, sometime in high school, Todd Maranovich discovered pot. Right? So
Happens to the best
So
of
he
them.
just, he just dabbled a little bit. Then he got recruited to play for USC. Now he's going to college. No parental guidance. Drugs, trouble, all sorts of problems. Not as effective as a quarterback. And then he did go to the Raiders for maybe a season or something. Never was any good. And then, just basically flamed out. Got in trouble a million times. I can't even the history of him. Now he's a watchdog. He's like a painter or something. So but he's not playing football. I think he did go back and try to play arena football or something. But there's two examples. Like it was his father's will versus his own will. And there's two different situations. Yeah. So I think that those are specialized examples that worked out well and didn't work out well. And then you have cases where, I can't tell you who, but they played one sport and they were great at it. And hockey's a good example of like, that you play hockey, that's all you play. Like I love that sport. I think it's fantastic, but there's a limit to what you can do because it's so expensive. This year round with baseball and soccer, I think is the worst. Football, you can't really play year round. I mean, you probably can, but there aren't.
Buffalo, New York feels like
there aren't opportunities to be competitive with travel teams and all that. So I don't know. I think I don't know the research, but I think that there's situations where it works out and then it doesn't. Obviously we're all at an age where we feel like you should play. I played every sport under the sun, from gymnastics to I skied on a cross country ski team. I mean,
Ooh.
kicked for the football team, played hockey. I wasn't great at any of it. Maybe if I would have singled one out, but I do think it makes for a more well balanced athlete growing up.
It's a good,
There were
yeah.
a lot of examples in the book of people specializing in the wrong sport, especially for the body.
Right.
Yeah.
It turns out if your lower leg is a little bit longer,
Right.
thinner, you're
Yeah.
but you're not a sprinter, you're a distance runner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specializing in the wrong sport.
Genetic testing, they're starting to find correlations, they're starting to find the genes that match up with whatever this is starting to push people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you remember in the book he talked about how this was just starting to happen, and I haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure since that book was written in 13 and now it's pretty much prevalent. Like they're doing it quite
There's-
a bit for yeah.
So,
I'm-
yeah.
It's interesting. Stephen actually was being very positive on the genetic testing. He's like, you might as well just get a good coach who can like look at you and tell you what you're probably better at.
Yeah, that's fair. He didn't seem to. Well, I think his it seemed like his point was like, don't stress yourself and your kid out to the point where like you can't cross country ski because your tibia length actually is optimized for this. Like, because that's where it almost felt like, and I feel like they're like you have like the pageant moms. I feel like you could get like the sports parents. I don't want to like gender that,
oh,
but like
they're out there.
yeah, who would be like, well, my son, you can't play basketball because your femur to tibia ratio is
Right.
it's not optimized for basketball. You
Yeah.
can't do that. You can't want that. And it feels like that would be
There were multiple examples in the
Crazy.
book of an athlete who was the guy that played basketball and he went to go high jump, and he just like
Yeah.
casually beat everybody. Like, oh, I got to do this? Can I still play basketball? I mean, those stories are they're fascinating. Or I did like the story when they look at they took the women's, I don't know what it was called, some sort of surfing sport in Australia. I think it was Australia.
oh yeah.
And they had them get on the skeleton, which is basically a runner sled that
Yeah.
insane sport. And they quickly were faster than the national league level people because
Yeah.
they determined that sport is that explosive start is what is really a lot of it. And that what their sport, that was the same thing. So I think it's fascinating when you see people just casually cross over to another sport and in a short amount of time, they're fantastic at it, which all these, and you, well, yeah,
No 10,000
a
hours,
lot of
it's
that.
true.
And I think it makes you wonder, okay, I don't believe in the 10,000. When Malcolm Gladwell, I said, there's no way in hell you could just put that out there. And I mean, there's some people that are just predispositioned through genetics or their mindset to achieve higher levels in a much shorter time. But there are people like a Pete Rose who, you know, Charlie Hutt worked their way up to a certain level because they have mentally, they're stronger and their attitude towards success is much better because they've had to work harder at it. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I see your hand up.
But you talk about that, and let's look at Tiger Woods and all the issues that he has had in his personal
Well,
life,
yeah,
no matter what.
there's
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, the personal Tiger Woods stuff.
Is it worth it? What's the balance there? How do you, what's the point of being a phenomenal success when your life is falling apart?
Yeah,
What's
I
the point of being a phenomenal success when
think
your
being-
life is falling apart? That's tough.
being told that you're amazing your entire life is I can't imagine.
Yeah, cannot relate.
You're an example for your son, who is also a phenomenal athlete
Right.
in your own sport, but you're like
A phenom. Yeah.
Yeah, I just you know, I look at this and I brought back to my conversation earlier about looking at race car drivers and success. And a good example is the Andretti family, where you have Mario Andretti, obviously considered the greatest driver of all time. He's won in multiple disciplines and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
You have his son, Michael, who I know that Mario was very, very hard on Michael. I think kind of from a competitive standpoint, like you're not going to be better than me. And
Oh.
oh yeah, yeah. And so Michael, you know, in his own right, was fantastic. I mean, phenomenal driver, achieved massive success. And then they have Marco, who I know that Michael had said that he did not want Marco to go through what he went through. So Marco didn't really have that pressure. And Marco, you can say, probably had at best an average racing career, because I don't think he didn't have that drive, you know, to succeed, because he was kind of coddled. That's probably the strong word to put in there, but you know, his plan B was still pretty good, so to speak. And he didn't have the same drive, and you know, it's hard to say. So it's one of those things that sometimes being pushed can make you a better individual, and sometimes being pushed the wrong way. It depends on the person and who's pushing in that case.
Yeah.
Have you ever driven a car 200 miles an hour?
Have you ever driven a car 200 miles an hour?
I've been in the car. I've done the
Okay.
2-seater on IMS a couple times.
At 200 miles an hour?
185.
Okay, round up.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not
way
doing that
di-
on 465.
It's way different than it looks. It's much more. It's
Really?
much more violent. The G forces when you go into the corners, it takes you have to hold your breath. Those drivers hold their breaths in the corners, like you have to.
What?
If you're hitting like 4 or 5 Gs, and then short shoot, and then again 3 to 5, I guess, in there. So I mean, it's just the whole race. It does that. So yeah, it's. I've driven some race. I've gotten to drive some race cars, some pretty cool race cars, but never an Indy car.
Oh,
It's funny.
Pilots in the racing
Years
field.
ago, when I first got started, at one point I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I think I watched Top Gun too many times. So I studied a lot, and I went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I got to see the centrifuge they have there in Dayton, and watched a lot of video on how to handle Gs. I think after I did about 5 private lessons, and I was getting nauseous every time, I'm like, maybe this isn't so cool. But if you look at what the same thing, I look at fighter pilots as probably the only activity that it can give you an idea of what goes on in a race car.
wow.
But the fighter pilots, when they experience their Gs, they can be higher, but they're very rare. I mean, you're turning the plane and then you're going straight. You're not. I mean, unless you're on Top Gun, you know, you're not constantly doing this and this and this and this. It's not as yeah. And I think that to me is one of the few activities, life experiences that you can say is similar to a race car, because yeah, every time you go up, I mean, you could die. It's not going to obviously happen in non-combat as regularly, but pilots still die all the time. It's and landing on an aircraft carrier. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the forces
Immense
on your body.
skill. So yeah, fighter pilots, they as a matter of fact, if you remember, not to get off on a tangent, but if you remember in 2001, an event, the IndyCar race at Texas Motor Speedway. In 2001, this was when the kart series and the IRL were competing with each other, and they both raced at Texas Motor Speedway, which is 24-degree banking.
Ooh.
Like
Oh my
I've ridden my bike on that track, and as I'm riding, my right pedal is hitting the ground. That's how steep it is. So what happened is the IndyCar Racing League was there running like 215 miles an hour. Really good racing, and it's a great track. And then kart went there and tested, and they were running, I don't know, maybe a little faster, 221s, something like that, in testing. Well, by the time they got to the race, the engineers had figured out how to go faster. They were hitting over 230.
Oh my
230 miles an hour
Ooh.
on, I think it's at a 2 mile or a mile and a half. Anyway, with massive banking.
That's
So
tough.
what they discovered is that early on, drivers were coming out of the cars saying, I don't feel right. I feel kind of dizzy.
Oh no.
Gets worse. At the time I was working for PacWest Racing, that was the the kart team that I worked for. Our driver, Mauricio Gugelman, hit the wall in turn 2 at 80 Gs, which is hit the wall, came back inside, and hit that wall at 160 Gs. Didn't kill him, but he was knocked out and bruised, headed to. I had to stay in his room and, like, as a physio, deal with him all night long. Didn't sleep at all. So that happened, and then another crash. And Dr. Steve Olvey, who is CART medical director, who's a great guy, good friend, he and Terry Trammell are the pioneers of medical safety, two of them at least. And they discovered, Steve called his buddy at NASA and said, hey, what's going on here? And he's like, well, what are their Gs? Like, they're hitting about 4.5 Gs. He's like, well, how long? Well, like every corner. Every corner. And he said, they will pass out. They will not. And that Mauricio, they think he passed out. He blacked out. So drivers were coming in and sitting on the pit wall and just like woozy. They had a drivers meeting. The drivers were very concerned. Some were, some weren't, and they canceled the race.
Wow.
They had to cancel the race because they couldn't do anything to make the cars go slower. So there's like a correlation between where NASA and fighter pilot information came to the series. Yeah, that was 2001. It's crazy, but it saved a lot of lives a day, I'm sure.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Bringing it to the book a little bit, you talked about how you were gifted this book in 2013. Science moves fast.
Yeah.
How much of this book do you think is still relevant and applicable, and how much do you think was outdated? Do you feel like a lot of it maybe has withstood the test of time, like maybe the fundamental principles?
Well, I think when you look at, I think that the areas where the endeavor they participate in kind of rewires the body physically, I think that applies. I think if you're
like the Achilles tendon,
yeah. and they look at baseball players, and I think their arm length, their gets longer. There's just certain things that I think translate to this day. I do think we're far better today at recognizing the detriments of those changes. So they don't become an injury or create, the tennis players. You can't imagine a tennis player's arm is going to get bigger and once. Okay.
Yeah.
But now I think even in golf, now they look at the potential for that repetitive movement that is going to make the athlete much more specific and beneficial to their sport. But then they look at the drawback of that is, okay, what is the drawback to that? And I think we're far better now at looking. We call prehab, which is actually one of the chapters in the book.
I was going to ask you about that.
We're much better at mobility and from a medical standpoint, training the body to prepare for the potential drawback of this specialized movement patterns. That's one thing I thought was fascinating. There's so many I think that there's a lot. We talked earlier about, we were kind of off topic. We talked about that. A lot of supplements, a lot of things that, if you wait for the FDA to approve something, like we wouldn't have ginseng. We wouldn't have a lot of things that actually have a benefit to it. We talked about creatine. Creatine phosphate, when that first came out, it was a steroid, and high school kids shouldn't have it. It'll stunt your growth and you'll gain 50. Now I take it every day for cognitive benefits, more than I take 15 milligrams a day because the research has shown the higher dosage is going to show greater promise for cognitive benefits. And so that I think you're seeing that I think we're more likely to embrace some of these offshoot items, you might say, training and such. And not wait around for peer-approved research, which we talked. It could take, by the time you realize that something benefits you, your neighbor has been doing it for 15 years, and then the FDA has peer-approved research. Well, he's been doing it all this time. You missed out on the benefit of it. I don't know. But the book. I'm trying to think of specific chapters in the book. You have to look at them.
I don't think they really talk much about like the supplement.
Yeah, but
piece.
in general, I think that there's really the genetics thing is the only thing I
probably
probably would
evolving
say
fast,
has
though.
evolved. And I didn't study into that. I don't know how much it has,
That's fair.
but I think that he did a really, really good job of addressing some very controversial topics and explaining them. And I can't think of one. I have to look at each chapter that hasn't really held water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really well done. Like I wish he would do another book. I really do.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
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 It's true.
Yeah. He just there's a new one that just came out.
Yeah.
What is it called?
I don't remember.
It's got an orange cover. It's all I know.
I
but-
can see it, but
yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe time for an updated sports book.
That would be fantastic. I'd
Sports
love
team.
to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I always want to give
Oh,
time
shoot.
for like a Q&A. I don't want to monopolize because I feel like I come with a lot of questions and a lot of things that I think are really interesting in this book, but I also don't want you guys to feel like you can't bring up like chapters of the book that you found interesting. So I'm kind of curious if this book made you think about sports differently or even like exercise differently. Did you watch the Indy 500 through a different lens, or are you going to watch the Olympics or the NFL or basketball like through a different lens now that you've kind of read this, or you're like, no, I'm cheering for my team. I don't care.
I thought it was fascinating. The gender topic of gender was
Yeah.
fascinating, and how they showed the progression of females versus males,
Yeah.
and how the female times have exploded and men have just gotten a little better.
Yeah.
And they said they think by 2050 or something that in certain mainly track and field and swimming events that women will be beating men.
Wow.
Which I was like, okay, I don't know, because if you look at the physiology, the way that men are designed, I mean, look at Michael Phelps. You know, he's got
Well, he's
feet this big, and you know, he's made. Actually, I think they checked him every time it was dysmorphia. They had to check him all the time.
Yeah.
They thought that he had that, but I don't, unless you genetically create someone to be, I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
You know, I think endurance sports, my gosh, if you look at some of the best ultra runners, they're women.
The ultra runners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's because I personally think women mentally are stronger than men in
Yeah.
the long run. I think they can handle pain better. I think that's just my view.
Yeah.
But that was fascinating. You know, where is it? Because a big topic is in racing is why are there really no good female race car drivers?
I was going to ask. I had that on my list.
And
Oh,
Get away from the dog and I mean,
she was trying to get away from. Yeah, she tried.
Catherine.
Yeah. She, if it makes you feel better, she placed, I think, 31st in the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte, but she at least finished the race
Yeah.
with everybody else.
Yeah.
Something to be said for that in a hot pink car, which I thought was nice.
But there's Michigan State did a research on this comparing, because the big knock on women drivers is physically they're not strong enough, aerobic
Really?
capacity. Yeah, aerobic capacity. There's the lack of aggression. I mean, there's all sorts of, you know.
I can fix that for you.
Yeah.
They
Not
need a
gonna-
redhead. Is what
Yeah,
they
I'm not going to get into
need.
that. And so Dr. Ferguson at Michigan State, who's our science director, he studied various areas, and from a cognitive standpoint, there's no difference. Oh gosh, what are the areas that their menstrual cycle has no impact? That was a big thing. Women on their periods are going to make more
Oh.
mistakes. He disproved that.
Interesting.
Some of it was just stupid, but
Interesting.
at the same time, you can't deny the fact that men's VO2 maxes are higher. So aerobic capacity, they have larger, their bodies are made with larger muscle mass size. So there's that. I mean, but the reactions, those components, none of those, there was any difference.
Oh,
So
reactions.
why aren't
too.
there more women drivers? I'll tell you the big reason, because people don't want to see them drive. I mean, sponsors don't care.
Really?
Oh yeah. Teams are resistant to having a woman
I didn't know.
driver because they've not proven themselves. And the pool of female drivers compared to men,
Yeah.
like for every 500 men, there's maybe one woman. So if you look
Yeah.
at it, now you take these, you know, let's say there's 500 women and 5,000 men. So you're trying to get a great driver out of that 500 versus
Mhm.
one great driver out of 5,000. The talent
Yeah.
pool is very, very different. So that's a big part of it. And yeah, Catherine actually, who was the female, she's a great friend. You trained her back in the day, good friends. And I did her whole hydration nutrition program for this whole thing and wasn't necessary. But she's got sponsorship from Elf,
Yes.
which, if you know, is eyes,
Eye,
lip,
lips, and
face, which is
Yeah,
fantastic.
makeup.
And I got into, somebody commented on something that the only reason she got this is because she's a woman. And my rebuttal was, yeah, dumbass. Like that was the dumbest argument. I said, because it's a company that caters to women. Like if there were more companies that would cater to women, maybe you'd see more women drivers, you know? And they were, by the way, Elf was thrilled with the whole thing. She didn't finish the 500. They loved it. And she's a really good driver.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, she did great. She was a couple laps down in the Coca-Cola 600, but I was cheering for her.
Yeah. So, you know.
We were all cheering for her. If that.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
she's got fans.
Yeah,
she's got
she's-
one fan.
Well respected. Well respected.
I saw your hand go up.
Oh, I was just thinking about the pool, like you said, the smaller pool.
Smaller talent pool.
Thinking about like either just naturally or because of our social conditioning, women can be a little bit more risk averse, and I'm wondering if that's playing. a part.
Risk adversity.
That's one of the points, is that they're also not put into these activities at a young age, or they haven't been. I think it's more mainstream now to see, you see women on men's high school football teams. I mean, granted, they're not probably
They're not
playing
linemen.
not linebackers, whatever. But you have to have, I mean, what is probably became a super popular female sport in the last 3 or 4 years? Women's basketball, because you have a Caitlin Clark. So you got to have these inspirational heroes that draw you to it. And, Danica Patrick, whatever you think of her, she inspired a whole generation of young female drivers to get into racing.
Yeah.
So you have to have someone champion that cause. Golf, I guarantee. I mean, I started playing hockey after I watched the 80 Olympic. I mean, I was terrible, but I was a goalie. I played for a couple of years, and that got me into it. So I think you have to, with women, the same thing. You've got to have someone to be out there spearheading the charge. And for the most part, these women that are successful in these sports, they're not, dainty little girls. They're badasses, because they've had to navigate a bunch of douchebag men who are trying to push them down the whole time. It's not like some sort of a cause here, but
Well, no.
but I get it. And so whenever you, yeah, and go-karting. So go-karting is a sport that is a kind of the entry level, and it's not cheap, by the way. I mean, super expensive. But you see women doing fairly well at that point. And at some point, the crossover changes, whether it's financial or their talent is run. I don't know what it is, but the girls tend to drop out after karting. And I'm not
That's
sure.
interesting.
And, in the book, they mention like up to 9 years old, boys and girls are the same. Like, and then it's suddenly hormones kick in and body
the
changes and all
hormones,
this.
yeah.
And maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and I will say this, as much as Danica Patrick was a trailblazer and did a wonderful job for women, there was a drawback, and I got to see it firsthand because we started seeing this massive influx of really attractive young women with massive social media presence getting sponsorship to be in a car they had no business being in, and they were terrible. Terrible. And that they were taking the place of maybe some talented female drivers that, you know, didn't have a million Instagram, or even before Instagram, they didn't have the looks or whatever, and they should be up there, and they weren't there, and it's a shame.
Female drivers less common in Europe.
I don't know.
It's a good question.
I mean,
know.
they're so rare at the higher. You don't really see them. I mean, at the F. And first of all, racing in Europe is far more expensive than racing here. I mean,
Oh,
tons more. Oh yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. To be in the equivalent series of Indy Next, which is the series below IndyCar.
yeah.
The equivalent series is F2. Indy Next is probably $1 million a year. F2 is at least 4-5 million. So I think it's you gotta have money, either sponsorship or you gotta have rich parents, which is a lot of it. Yeah.
Is there a drive for splitting between men's racing and women's racing?
They've done that.
In all other sports?
They've done
They've
that,
done that? Oh, I
and
didn't know
and it's
that.
really a bad idea.
Oh, why?
Well,
Everyone's like, what?
because they've had a couple different options. One was the W Series, which is an all women series that was he created Jamie Chadwick, who won that like 3 years in a row. British gal, really good driver. Came over here, won a race in Indy Next. But what it did is these other females had no other opportunity, because if you're not good enough to even be competitive in an all-girls series, you suck. I mean, that's kind of the view. That was the view.
It takes time.
But it takes money. Someone's got to pay for it. So, but that was met with mixed reviews. Now, the Formula One has wisely now formed the F1 Academy, which is the same thing, except each F1 team has to have a driver. So now you've got the McLaren F1 team has a McLaren girls in that. And you're now, and they're racing the same weekends as the F1 races, which is what you need, because you got to get sponsorship. Now the F1 teams are paying for most of this. They've done a much better job of that. And the racing isn't that bad. I watched some of the racing, you know, and it's risen. The top women have done well, but then unfortunately, once they achieve that, then what? Like, you have to have money to go do that. And some of these girls have come from very little financial backing. They just don't have the money. So once they win, they do well in that series, then what's next? Well, now you need $3 million to go and do this. Well, I just was third in this championship of 30 women. Yeah, well, you know, this guy over here has 30, you know, has the money that's needed. So it's tough. It's tough. The big question is, will there ever be a women Formula One champion? Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting it. A lot of people are. It may take a while. It may take a while, but I think there's more potential to do it from a pure physiological standpoint in racing than there is in a lot of other sports. And you know, whoever does it once you get someone in there that's competitive and doing well, it's going to drive more young women into the sport.
Yeah, and maybe more investment for those women who
maybe
are in
more
the
investment.
sport.
I mean, it'd be great if Elf were to diversify and put money into a number of different girls, and that's what you want to see. You want to have somebody kind of getting in there and saying, "Hey, we want to back a few of these young drivers and good drivers, not just because you're hot or have 5 million Instagram followers, like competitive drivers." A gal who runs in NASCAR is Isabella Robusto.
Yeah, I was thinking about her.
Look, she's not a model. She's pretty plain looking. She's kind of a tomboy. She's really good.
Yeah.
She's with
winning.
Toyota is backing a lot of these female drivers, but they're backing the good female drivers. Tori Breidinger is a girl that
Yep.
we worked with.
Yeah, the ARCA series, I
She happens to be really attractive and does all the right things, but she's also good. Like that's what you need. You need more of that talent to get to the forefront and people to invest in it, versus the Instagram. You know, the people that are getting on rides because they have all this following, they'll get a sponsor to jump on board with them for a year or two and realize that she's not very good. Then they lose interest in the whole thing. Whereas they would have put that money into somebody with talent, they could have got more value out of it. But
Interesting. Yeah.
I think that you talk less about attractiveness because you don't talk about that in men. And
No.
there's more reason to talk about it with women.
it's
would be maddening to try to coordinate that across for hikers and training programs.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We're very much in a heavy tech phase with the performance, and we're looking at various areas, everything from cognitive training to there's so much equipment out there now to work on some of the same variables. You can chase down that rabbit hole, just look at every bit of tech and measure things. And the problem with that is you get to a point where you're measuring. Are you measuring for the sheer sake of novelty or measuring, or it's just applicable to this app? So you need to measure every single component. It's tough. Marketing is, as we know, it's prevalent. Marketing is brilliant. You think, well, I need to check, every single aspect of the mobility of a person's neck is relative. There's just so many variables that check with. You can't get down that rabbit hole, you'll lose the fundamentals. But to be honest, as in this book, some of the fundamentals just don't change. With athletes, you have to get stronger, you have to get faster. Those are kind of the big things. If you're a runner, whether you're a marathon runner or 100 meters, you gotta get faster. Okay, how do you do that? And if you're an athlete that's strength-based, throwing things, you get stronger, and you break it down from there. So some of the fundamentals have not really changed over the years. It's just the deviations that you get into testing muscle fiber and O2 and the muscle. The big controversy is with endurance athletes is the better your VO2 max testing, basically your body's utilize oxygen, and your large chunk of that is genetic. Not going to change that a lot. Or as lactate threshold testing, which is measuring blood lactate. Like that's a big debate back and forth. What's more important? Well, then you get stuck on that, and you lose sight on some other things. So,
And then you're not fast away.
yeah, you're not fast enough. And the book has all the other benefits, but again, it's hard to keep up. You can spend an hour on Instagram and $10,000 to get numbers. Believe me, I bought a lot of things just because a lot of things at times we talked about earlier with supplements, like you can do your research, but until you do it, you just don't know. We'll have the greatest garage sale of all time in my company. I have a ceiling, but here's the thing. There's a lot of things that I bought 5-10 years ago that, there was nothing I bought. So and I think it might have been David Epstein for another book. Stimulating the prefrontal cortex enhances, there's two things you can do. Temporal lobe of the prefrontal cortex, if you stimulate them with monkeys, electrical shocks, one helps your learning. And then the other one helps with fatigue. It staves off your brain. Because basically, when you get tired, it's your brain. It's not your body. Your brain tells you it's defense mechanism. They didn't think all the Halo. My wife bought for me $500. I heard that. You put on this headset and it stimulates, like it shocks you. And then it was amazing. It didn't do anything. I've had that thing for 10 years. I finally threw it out, but like that concept is still there. So something you gotta be careful about dismissing something that doesn't work right away. Yeah, I've done that so much. It was the only way that worked is if you were bald, because you had to get it so wet that your hair reduced connectivity. So if you didn't have any hair, it worked great. So it never would pick up for anybody, and But in the book, like you see something in the book that works, and the research has shown that it works, and then some smart entrepreneur capitalized on it and creates something that kind of works as it stays, doesn't really work, and then you buy it. It's just just waste another bunch of money on that.
You get drivers who come in and like, oh, should I take this fish oil? We talked about beet juice.
Yeah, I'm pretty in tune with any sort of research or anything that might enhance anything. I've got so many Google search lists that I get every day, like cognitive training and this, and I go through all of them. And so, yeah, they'll come to me with questions about things. I'll be honest today, I feel like there's so much information out there on the internet that they'll just listen to some person who may not have the right answer, but it sounds good before they don't even ask questions. You know, Chat GPT, I mean, my gosh, what was that? Smarter. Yeah, we gotta be careful. Yeah, there's so much out there. But yeah, we get drivers that come and ask about certain things. You know, should I take this? They'll bring a supplement to me. I just had one just the other night. The driver sent me a long list of a product, and he said, "Yeah, this buddy of mine started a new company, and it's a hydration formula, and you know, what do you think of it?" And what it was leading to is this guy wanted to get us to endorse it. And I looked at it, and I said, "This is about the same thing as good other products. Like, it's not even as good as some of the others." He's like, "Well, do you want some?" And I said, "No." Like, I'm looking at the label, there's nothing in here. There's one product that was beneficial, which is sodium, which is in basically every electrolyte drink. And the rest of it was taurine in there and just some things that, like we talked about.
Yeah.
They'll throw in something that sounds, you know, a beach roll or whatever, and then that's got extra, so you buy it. Does nothing for you. We were talking about beet juice.
The beet juice. I don't know if any of you guys are on to the, when I was in the muscle lab, they were giving rats lots of beet juice and then putting them on.
There is research showing that beet juice has an endurance standpoint is beneficial. And I got on that train and I was drinking like crazy and didn't realize that beet juice comes out of you from everywhere. Luckily my wife is a nurse and a little concerned there for a while.
When I actually brought this to the muscle, like, again, I was in the muscle lab for a while, and one of the things they said was where the beans are grown is important. And the North Carolina beans are apparently superior, and I, full disclosure, I have a family who own a bee farm in North Carolina.
Way short or something.
I think my family's that few. I don't know, they might be getting clues. So if you see it, and they look like the little fine energies too, so you gotta be careful, you gotta watch out if you're buying beet juice, you make your getting a lot of so I just want to thank you guys so much for coming out to our last, I think it's what do we say, our 18th season of Ghost Food, which is I know, 9 years of doing this book. Insanity, absolute insanity. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Like I mentioned, our next book will be in July. We have not picked our books for next season. But if you have books that you're reading over the summer, books that you're jazzed about, stuff that's coming out maybe that hasn't even been published, but you're like, I have my eye on that. Let us know. We'd love to facilitate some expert conversations with new coming books. I know this was a board book, but I felt like it would be Olympics. Even though I forgot it was Winter Olympics this year. Yeah, I'll look into it. Yeah. But anyways, feel free to come talk. And even just fun reading that you guys are reading over the summer. I have a work trip in Stockholm. I have a long flight. I got a lot of reading to do, so I would love some recommendations. But thank you so much for coming. Especially coming off of a probably very busy Indy 500 weekend for you. I hope you get some time to relax and maybe enjoy not the off season quite yet, but
Yeah, I'm happy with May. May is a long season. Almost a season with this.
Okay, well, I hope you can take some time off this summer and enjoy it. And again, just thank you so much for sharing your experience. And some fun story. I feel like I've learned so much and I have a better appreciation for the Indy 500. So thank you all, and we will see you here, right here in July. So thank you all. Thank you.